my friends, when I was a teenager and learning to drive, my father would always remind me to check the mirrors before changing lanes. And he reminded me that I was to look over my shoulder to check for blind spots before backing up and changing lanes. Well, a while back, I was in the parking lot of a strip mall. I checked both mirrors, hearing my father's voice in my head, looked back, and everything looked clear. I backed up right into the back of a car. Crash! What a terrible sound that was. I got out of my car to make sure the other driver was okay and to see the damage that I had done to the other car. We were both fine and there was no damage to either of our cars, and wow, what a relief that was to me. Understandably though, the other driver began waving her arms and yelling at me, "Didn't you see me? Didn't you hear me yelling at you, blowing my horn?" I said, "No ma'am, I didn't hear you. I didn't see you. I'm really sorry." The poor lady was so frustrated with me. She felt like she did all that she could to avoid a crash, but I did not hear her warning. I got back into my car and I wondered, how could I have made such an error in judgment? I wondered, what's wrong with me? How was I blinded in that moment to miss seeing the car behind me? I have to tell you, this near accident really shook me up, and I felt that God had allowed it for a purpose. It really got me thinking, and I asked God, what is it that you're trying to tell me, caution me about, perhaps warn me about? And I realized that I had become overly distracted with my thoughts. I needed to remove some of the many distractions that were cluttering my mind, and even things that I really hadn't thought of as sin that were keeping me from listening, hearing, and obeying God's instructions in my life. You know, it's a lousy feeling to realize that you've missed out on hearing something important, or when you feel like you're not being heard. Ever tried getting through to a customer service rep and you finally get through, tell your whole story, only to get passed on to the next rep after waiting another 10, 20, or 30 minutes, having to retell your story again? You wonder, why am I going through all of this? No one is even listening. They don't know me and seems like they don't even care. What about when you're talking on your cell phone and you go through an area and the call drops and you don't realize that the person that you're talking to is no longer even on the other end of the line, and you just keep talking, telling your story, but no one's there listening. No matter how important your story was at the time, it somehow just seems less important now. No one is there to listen. Let's face it, it's frustrating. It's lonely when you feel like no one's listening to you, when you feel like you're not being heard or understood. Ever wonder if God is hearing you when you're praying, when you're crying out to Him? So faith comes from what is heard, and what is heard comes through the message about Christ. Romans 10:17. Today, my friend, I'm here to remind you of this, that God always listens to us. He always hears our prayers. And when we are desperate for God to listen to us, to hear our prayers, God has us in the right place at the right time. It's then that we are in a position to give Him our full attention. And when He has our attention, when we give God space to hear from Him, it's then that He can really work in our lives. Psalm 55 verses 16 and 17. As for me, I call to God, and the Lord saves me, evening, morning, and noon. I cry out in distress, and He hears my voice. There's a beautiful song Chris Tomlin has released, "The God Who Listens," that so eloquently reminds us that God is never too busy or too distracted to hear us, to listen to us. The God who made the winters and the summers, the one who put the stars all in their place, the only one who stands above all others. He knows me by my name. The angels hide their faces in His presence, and the demons run for cover when you speak. You rule the world and reign above the heavens, and still you draw close to me. And when I close my eyes, I know that I'm not just hoping, I'm not just wishing, I know I'm praying to a God who listens. I know He hears me. I know He's living. Yes, I am praying to a God who listens. He walks with me and leads me by still waters. I lay my troubles down at His feet. It's amazing that the Savior and the Father, He is a friend to me. A friend who knows me, who loves me, who never will fail me, who tells me that I am His own. And you surround me, God. You are always for me. So I come boldly to your throne. You're the God who listens. My friend, do you have something on your mind, in your heart, that you want God to hear? Go ahead. Tell Him. He's got your attention. And my friend, you've got His. He's the God who is never too busy or distracted to listen to your every need, your worry, and fear. He listens because He cares about you. Oh, my friend, He loves you. God bless you today.